Yeah, I think they both had good morning skates here today, so we'll put them out for that warm-up, and our hope is that they both play.
And looking at the last game, I see a lot of things you like. What can you build off the last game, taking into this game?
I go back almost to our last three, about 12 minutes to the Carolina first period. I like when we can get ourselves into tighter games. I think those are more meaningful. We've lost both of them, at 1-1 in the third period, but it's a really good starting point for our group, for the mentality of the scratch and claw and the non-open game that we say in the playoffs. It's what we talk about all the time, is playing that game. Take those two big men out of our blue line and play against a team with the firepower that Colorado has. I like the way we played the game. I like the way the bench feels in the last 4 or 5 games. So we're excited about this one tonight.
Kevin Stenlund got his ring last night. Obviously, the penalty kill was so big on that cup run. How
right.
Kind of an unsung hero was Stenny to the group last year?
You know what? He's a really good example, and maybe even you can learn for our team this year. He really built his game over the course of the year, and from style of play to finding that role that's valued in the room so that we get into the playoffs last year. He's just as important as everybody else because he has such an important role for us, and he found his place and he found his way, and he was a great player for us and critical. So I think 3 of the 4 teams that we played in the playoffs last year, when we faced them, they had the number 1 power play. Tampa did when we went into it. The Rangers did, obviously, what Edmonton has there. So our being able to survive 2 months of that kind of hockey, he was a big part of it.
And looking at their team now, obviously they brought in some veterans, but so much young talent across the ice.
Yeah.
How dangerous are they, Utah?
You know what? They're a version of kind of what the process that we went through. There's lots of skill up front, and they started to bring in men like Kevin to defend a little, to get a little heavier on the blue line. Sergachev, some guys that can kind of feed those pucks up north. So, but there's structure to their game. They're not a loose hockey team. They're dynamic with the puck, certainly on transition and in the offensive zone. So we'll treat them like we treat Colorado or some of these high-scoring kind of seam teams that make a lot of plays in the offensive zone, but without the expectation that you're going to trade back and forth, because they're going to grind you pretty well defensively as well.
Stenlund said when he was looking for a contract this year, Utah kind of felt like the right next step because it's obviously really different than the position Florida was in last year. Just, I don't know if you've watched him this year, but how do you think he's been in a new locker room where maybe he has more of an impactful role?
I think Kevin, and he deserves the credit for this, really built a game for himself last year, a style of hockey that he's really, really good at. And it didn't happen in training camp last year. It took him the year, and he worked hard at it and created a role and a style of hockey that he can excel at, and that's the game that he's playing here. You know, we do all our pre-scout video and the defensive parts of the game. You see he's on a lot of that video. So bringing in a veteran guy that can walk into the room and, and our team is in the 4-hole. It's really important for the skilled young players that play above to value those guys and how important they are to the team. But in order to do that, they got to be good players too. They got to bring something every night, and I think he's doing that for Utah, and he's an exciting part of the transition of this team from being young and skilled to being solid at both ends.
What's it like for you getting to see some of the guys that were on that run with you throughout the season? Does it kind of bring back memories when you're in the thick of it?
The best part is this: there's a smile that happens when you're walking up, right before you shake hands. There's this smile, and I don't know if I can explain it any better than that. That connection that's just never going to fade. So we've kind of had this nice tour this year where we've been able to drop off some Stanley Cup rings, and just that initial meeting. That flood of memories, that kind of shared bond is strong. It's powerful. So it was wonderful. I got to talk to him in the hallway today, and it was great to see him again.
You described that you noticed some similarities in Utah as to what you guys went through in building a championship team. Just in your kind of perspective and analysis, what could Utah do at this point to continue building?
Take this the right way. The level of arrogance that it would take for me to comment on their team, I get up every morning trying to figure out my own team, and I'm here every day. But I would think that there is a general theme. Normally, teams will build young talent through high draft positions, so they bring in enough skill. That skill has to get developed, and then a stage comes when you'll decide the right skill stays, and then you'll bring in some veteran players who play on the other side of the puck. Because a guy like Kevin is a perfect example. The defensive part of the game, it takes a long time for those guys to learn how to do that too, to truly value it. So they brought in some men this year that have spent some time honing the game. And when Kevin walks into the room, he may not be playing in the first line center hole. He didn't play in Barkov's hole, but he's got an awful lot of respect for the guys in the room. Because for us to win, Barkov's got to be Barkov, but we needed Stenlund on the face-off against McDavid in the critical games, and he got the job done. So he gets to walk into the room like that. And it's important then that the young skill kind of goes, okay, that guy's a key piece. He's a key player for it. He's every bit as important as your leading scorer. And that's when I think the teams that's when they change gears. That's when they get into the games. They can beat you 4-1, but they can beat you 2-1 as well.
Jeremy's had a couple more hits recently. Is he close to being a...
Yeah, we think so. I mean, we got a handle on what it is. It's just about getting him strong enough and enough range of motion to play. He's close.
goaltender?
Sergei plays.